Hi, my name is Patrícia Spinelli. I work at the Museum of Astronomy in Rio, and today my contribution is going to be about girls in astronomy, pursuing gender equity in basic science education. I'd like to first start with you having a look in the next images. What do they say? So these images were taken from school books, and they show men occupying prestigious jobs, whereas women are portrayed working in careers related with education or as a caregivers. These images were from a Google search when I tried to type toys for boys and for girls, and this is the kind of results that Google gives me. So toys for boys are pink and related to housework, whereas toys for boys, they tend to be colorful, and toys that motivate boys in various ways, including exercise their creativity and imagination. While studying physics, the images taken from various physics books, when giving examples of how nature works, these examples tend to be related to the universe of interests of boys. So it's very difficult to find neutral examples or examples that are related to the universe of girls. So with this small compilation of examples, I would like to say that it's very difficult to motivate girls to pursue STEM careers. And the reason for that is because science is a human endeavor, and as such is subject to conflicts that affects society as a whole. And the gender issues or gender gap is one of such conflicts. So if we want to welcome 50% of the intellectual capacity of humankind and attract more girls into STEM careers, we have to act, we have to make interventions. And I'm going to talk about a project that we developed in the museum where I work in Brazil. But first, I would like to give some context on how the gender issues intersects with race and ethnicity issues in the Brazilian society. So our country suffers from structural racism, and that is to say that Black and brown people have less education and cultural opportunities. And even though girls and women are more educated than men, there are more women in universities, even at post-graduation levels, than men in Brazil. Women are the less paid. So with these combinations of gender and race issues, this combination pushes Black and brown girls away of prestigious jobs, such as those found in the STEM system. So if we want to change society, it's important to aim actions to girls, but not any girls, to Black and brown girls that are those with less opportunities. So thinking about Science Museum, which is the institution where I work, it's important to say that according to the International Council of Museums, these spaces, they should offer experiences for education. They should be inclusive and foster diversity. And they are spaces that can show science historically and socially contextualized. And this is very important when we want to attract minority groups to science. So it's important to mention, however, that the context of learning, the context for learning in museums is not the same as in schools or other sites for formal education, because when we visit a museum, for instance, we are there for an hour or 2 hours. We are not there sitting for a year-long learning and repeating the context over and over again. In Brazil, unfortunately, the participation in museums is very limited. Thus, if we want to provide opportunities, the opportunities that museums may offer, it's very important to do these in partnerships with schools, where the majority of youngsters will be. So the Museum of Astronomy and Related Science in Rio is the home for the National Observatory, was originally the home for the National Observatory. Nowadays, it is a research institution under the Brazilian Ministry of Science and Technology, and the research fields are concentrated in the history of science, museum studies, and science communication and education. So within this very beautiful building, we host exhibitions, and we also safeguard antique telescope domes, in which we still nowadays conduct night sky observations and solar observations with the public, and we also offer other kind of activities for a broad and general public. Regarding the girls in the museum, this specific project we run in partnerships with the schools that are neighbor of the museum, and our actions are split into short-term and long-term actions. Short-term actions are more event-likes, when girls can come to the museum and meet scientists, female scientists, and develop some hands-on activities. The long-term activities are based at schools within the framework of science clubs dedicated to girls. And within the science clubs, the girls develop small projects with a bunch of female scientists, educators, as well as teachers. Here are the pictures of this wonderful woman. And our activities, they range from training in astronomy for a year long, visiting other institutions like university, research institutions, or even other museums. The participating girls also participate in external events to communicate what they have learned. They also communicating their findings to their colleagues at schools. They write posts to social networks, but by far the most important activity that we developed is the small research projects. The last research project was about solar activity and climate change. And this year we are running a project on the impacts of light pollution that also relates to our institution, which is an deactivate observatory. So with these projects, the girls present at the state fair yearly. And we also developed field trip activities like this one when they went to a national park that has its skies protected from light pollution. So we conducted activities and evaluation activities with the participating girls since 2015, when our project started. And to conclude, I would like to highlight important aspects of our project that were mentioned for these participating girls, the aspects which they found interesting in our project. So it's important to say that it's not about communicating astronomy to these girls, but how astronomy works. For them, it was also important to understand the aspects and the non-neutral aspects of science and the history of science behind astronomy. They also mentioned that it was important for them to meet different professionals and the engagement of the teachers, their teachers, and families in the projects. We also consider the promotion of science and cultural activities a very rich aspect of our project. Thank you.